On the streets of Nuremberg in 1828 a young boy appeared walking unsteadily with faltering steps. He clutched mysterious sealed letters in his hand, able to utter only one or two vague mumbled words. From that moment on the name Kaspar Hauser became the greatest unsolved enigma in European history. Tonight, guided by the latest breakthroughs in DNA technology, we venture deep into this cold shadowed chapter of the past, listening to the faint fragile breath of a child who had never once seen sunlight in his life. Kaspar Hauser was a man without any trace of a past, his entire confined world reduced to nothing more than a straw mat and a simple wooden toy horse, until he was suddenly pushed out into the harsh glaring daylight, dragged into the ruthless power games of royal intrigue. This quiet bedtime tale leads you deep into the shadowed ancient castles and cold royal courts of 19th century Germany. Wrapped in soft soothing narration, we witness the sorrowful ill-fated destiny of this young boy raised, trapped inside a dark underground dungeon. Genetic DNA never lies, even after enduring hundreds of years of wind and frost. Hidden within the blood-stained clothing left behind by Kaspar Hauser lies the genetic code marking him as the rightful heir to a royal throne. This is far more than a simple story of illegal imprisonment. It is a haunting tale of bitter betrayal, insatiable greed, and lifelong lonely isolation. Close your eyes and feel the endless days and quiet nights Kaspar Hauser endured trapped inside his narrow, airless, dark chamber. Let this quiet piece of history linger beside you, guiding you into a deep, peaceful night of sleep. Imagine a human being who has never laid eyes upon sunlight at all. In his small confined world there was no clear blue sky, no flying birds, only an everlasting gray gloom thick with the damp musty scent of darkness. In 1828 a strange young boy emerged onto the streets of Nuremberg, Kaspar Hauser appearing as if he had stepped out from a crack deep beneath the earth. He could only write his own name, clutching tightly two sealed letters, addressed to the cavalry captain, murmuring his simple wish to become a soldier. Tonight let the soft gentle glow of flickering firelight stay with us as we walk fully into the untold story of his life. We soon discover this boy who survived solely on plain black bread and water carried within his veins the noble royal blood of the Grand Duchy of Baden. We brush aside the thick fog of history, following the faint illuminating light of modern DNA research to understand the lonely soul imprisoned alone for 16 long years. This is the story of a stolen childhood and how a precious innocent life was ruthlessly erased beneath the dark shadow of political power. On this quiet night, close your eyes and follow me back to the gray mist-shrouded square of old Nuremberg. Standing alone in that crowded square, young Kaspar Hauser appeared like a lost stranger, overwhelmed by fear of everything around him. He walked with unsteady, awkward steps, his feet pale, soft and delicate, nothing like those accustomed to walking long distances outdoors. Even stranger, his body could barely digest any food other than plain bread and fresh water. Townsfolk tried patiently to teach him to speak, yet he could only repeat in mechanical monotone that he wished to become a cavalryman, just like his father. As his ability to speak slowly returned, he gradually pieced together a heartbreaking secret. He had remembered no other life beyond being confined inside an extremely narrow, sunless, cramped cell, a hidden underground dungeon. Within that tiny space he could not even stand upright, forced to remain seated day in and day out. Each morning bread and water would appear silently beside him. Sometimes opium would be mixed into his drinking water, putting him into deep unconscious sleep. The only time unknown hands would trim his nails and change his simple clothing. His only companion throughout those lonely years was a small wooden hobby horse. He would gently caress it in total darkness, talking quietly to himself, passing 16 endless years in complete solitary confinement. This extreme lifelong isolation leaves one wondering whether it was meant as cruel punishment or a deliberate scheme to hide a truth powerful enough to shake the foundation of an entire kingdom. When he beheld the vast starry night sky for the very first time, he broke down in bitter tears, having waited and longed for such a sight through endless dark days and nights. The sudden appearance of Kaspar Hauser quickly sparked sensational fascination across the whole of Europe. Crowds of Nuremberg townsfolk flocked eagerly to catch a glimpse of this wild, mysterious young man. The legal scholar Feuerbach grew deeply intrigued by him, noticing naturally refined noble manners and an innate gentle grace beneath his unfamiliar awkward exterior. Whispers and rumors began spreading quietly within taverns and elegant salons, hinting that Kaspar might well be the long-lost rightful heir of the Grand Duchy of Baden. According to hidden royal court secrets, the Grand Duchess had given birth to a healthy baby boy, yet the infant was soon officially declared dead shortly after birth. Nevertheless, widespread folk rumors persisted, claiming the child had never perished at all, secretly smuggled out of the royal palace through a deliberate baby swap orchestrated by a rival royal consort. The motive behind the plot was clear and cold: to clear the path for her own descendants to inherit the throne of Baden without opposition. Kaspar Hauser remained completely unaware of these ruthless hidden power struggles. He simply devoted himself desperately to learning how to live as a normal human being. He began to paint, creating delicate melancholic flower drawings as if mourning the warm spring beauty he had never once been allowed to witness. He slowly learned to think and understand the world, yet his eyes always held An unshakable depth of sorrow and compassion the more his extraordinary natural talent and noble refined temperament revealed themselves the more restless and alarmed certain powerful figures within distant ancient castles became. The price of growing into the outside world proved devastatingly heavy for Kaspar Hauser. Stepping into ordinary society meant exposing himself fully to the watchful eyes of his hidden enemies. A child raised entirely accustomed to perpetual darkness possessed no sense of caution or defense beneath bright sunlight. Assassination attempts targeting him followed one after another without pause. The first violent attack took place inside his lodgings, a masked stranger darting out from the shadows, slashing a deep wound across his forehead. The sharp unfamiliar pain terrified Kaspar, who fled immediately to hide in a cellar, the only place his subconscious deemed truly safe due to a lack of credible witnesses and solid evidence. Many people began suspecting Kaspar had staged the attack himself merely to gain public sympathy and pity. This cruel misunderstanding and slander trapped the young boy inside a second invisible prison of isolation. He grew increasingly silent, filled with deep suspicion and distrust toward everyone around him. Only in the quiet stillness of late night would he pick up his writing brush, pouring out his tangled complex feelings toward the invisible unknown caretaker of his dungeon. That mysterious unseen figure had tormented his existence yet also fed and cared for him, forming his only perception of human contact. Across 16 lonely years he longed desperately to discover his own origins, yet every time he reached out to grasp the truth it slipped away like a startled, frightened bird. In 19th-century Germany the dark hidden undercurrents of political intrigue ran far thicker and more impenetrable than the cold stone walls of his old dungeon. On a bitter cold winter day in 1833 Kaspar Hauser was lured to the palace gardens of Ansbach by another mysterious unsigned letter. The messenger promised to reveal the name of his long unknown mother for a child who had never known a mother's warmth and affection. This promise held irresistible fatal appeal. Waiting for him amid the snow-covered garden grounds was not the truth he craved but the cold sharp blade of an assassin. The attacker severely wounded him before fleeing in haste, leaving behind only a simple purple silk purse containing a note written entirely in mirrored reversed script. The message read, "Hauser would reveal my appearance and origins to the world, yet I have chosen to strike first." 3 days later, lying on the brink of death, Kaspar Hauser whispered softly that he had not staged the incident. Even in his final moments he remained haunted by the fear that the public would once again accuse him of orchestrating another fake attack. His sudden mysterious death sent the royal family's long-buried secret sinking back into silent obscurity. The church bells of Nuremberg tolled solemnly in mourning for him, and upon his tombstone was carved these poignant words: "Here lies Kaspar Hauser, an enigmatic being born in obscurity, dying shrouded in mystery." His entire life unfolded as a brief haunting tragedy, drifting helplessly between endless darkness and blinding sunlight, left unresolved, filled with lingering sorrow that never faded away. 1 century passed, then 2 centuries, yet debate surrounding Kaspar Hauser's true identity never ceased fading. It was not until the late 20th and early 21st centuries that scientists equipped with advanced microscopes and precise gene sequencing technology once again unlocked the sealed door of his forgotten dungeon. Researchers extracted tiny trace fragments of mitochondrial DNA from the blood-stained clothing Kaspar had worn at the time of his assassination. Early initial test results dismissed any blood connection to the Baden royal family, dismissing the legend as nothing more than romantic imagination and folk fantasy. Yet as scientific technology advanced, modern biological archaeologists adopted far more precise haplotype analysis to re-examine the preserved samples. The latest conclusive research reveals an astonishing genetic overlap between Kaspar Hauser's DNA sequence and members of the Baden royal line. The long-dismissed possibility flared alive once more like a spark in the dark. He truly was the innocent prince stolen and swapped at birth for the sake of power and the royal throne. That helpless newborn was robbed of his name, denied the sight of sunlight, stripped of love, family and warmth, confined inside a cramped cell too small even to allow him to stand. He watched the passing of seasons through the faint thin glimmer of light filtering through cracks in the walls. Modern science has finally restored his true identity, yet this justice, arriving 200 years too late, could never mend the desolate loneliness and suffering that defined his entire lifetime. Today the name Kaspar Hauser stands far more than merely an unsolved historical puzzle. It has become a timeless symbol of quiet solitude and pure untouched innocence. Whenever we feel a sudden wave of quiet loneliness in the stillness of night, we can find a quiet echo within Kaspar Hauser's story. The simple wooden hobby horse that kept him company through endless dungeon years has long decayed into dust with the passage of time, yet his soul, forever yearning for sunlight, lingers eternally within. The pages of history can often be cruel, shaping legendary tales from one person's unbearable suffering, yet history also holds a gentle grace, allowing hidden truths to break through the dust of centuries and finally see the light. Tonight, as we drift slowly into peaceful sleep wrapped in this soft narration, pause to cherish every ray of sunlight and every gentle breeze surrounding us. Ordinary simple blessings. Kaspar Hauser waited 16 long lonely years in total darkness just to experience these small everyday gifts. His story has reached its quiet end, yet the quiet resilience of his spirit lingers gently within your heart. No need to grieve for the lonely boy any longer. He has returned to the quiet embrace of the stars, where no dark dungeons exist, only endless pure light. Night has deepened, the wind has softened. Release all the chaos and trivial worries of the day and sink fully into your own peaceful tranquility. Good night.